Sorry, Darcy. I'm really sorry. I can't believe this. They're not my family anymore.
The moment I saw my usually stoic husband shed tears, I made up my mind. We paid off $300,000 in debt, revitalized a struggling restaurant in the countryside, and even built a multi-generational home for my ailing mother-in-law. And they want to kick us out and give it all to my brother-in-law? No way. I won't let them get away with this. I won't hold back anymore. They're going to regret it. I grabbed my phone with trembling hands. Our revenge against those who trampled on us had begun. My name is Darcy. I'm 30 years old and work for a management consulting firm in the city. My husband Kibai, also 30, is a sous chef at a popular restaurant. He doesn't talk much, but he's incredibly kind, hardworking, and sincere. Today, we're having dinner at home with our mutual friend Stephanie. What? You guys are moving back to your hometown? Stephanie was shocked as she sipped her wine. Yeah, Kibai's dad is getting worse and we have decided to take over his family's restaurant.
I feel bad for Darcy having to quit her job, but that restaurant is my family legacy and my dad is the reason I became a chef.
I get it, but... Stephanie poked at the vibrant dishes Kibai had prepared with a displeased look. Stephanie and Kibai are from Morro Bay, a coastal town far away. I met Stephanie in college when she moved to the city for school. She comes from a wealthy family and is very bubbly, completely opposite to me, but somehow we clicked. She even introduced me to Kibai, saying you two are perfect for each other. But isn't it a waste, Darcy? You've been working so hard at a management consult at a big company, and Kibai, you're a chef at a renowned French restaurant. Don't you guys have dreams? Thanks for worrying, Stephanie, but nowadays, as long as you have a computer, you can work from anywhere. Most importantly, I want to support Kibai. Alright, lovebirds, now next time I'm in town, you better treat me to Kibai's cooking again.
Stephanie, thank you. I'll go grab some more wine.
As Kibai left the table, I whispered to Stephanie. Stephanie, thanks for your concern, but I'll make it work. I'm lucky to have good friends. Of course, I have my worries about this new chapter, but I know we'll be alright. After saying our goodbyes to Stephanie, my husband and I moved to Morro Bay, unaware of the tough challenges that lay ahead of us. When we visited my father-in-law in the hospital, we were shocked to see how frail he had become.
Kibai, I've got terminal cancer. I don't have much time left.
Kibai's quiet father-in-law said that. I was prepared, but those words still weighed heavy on me. A man devoted to his work, his only hobby being collecting plates. A kind father who adored Kibai very much.
Dad, don't worry. We'll be okay.
Yes, father-in-law, everything will be alright. Kibai comforted him by holding his hand.
You've got a good wife, Kibai.
Just as I felt a lump in my throat, a shrill voice filled the room.
Hey! If you're here, say so. I've got something important to talk about. Both of you, come here.
We turned around to see my mother-in-law. I knew she had high blood pressure, but yelling like that is just going to make it worse. My mother-in-law comes from a family that owns several plots of land locally and was raised lovingly by her grandparents. For that reason or another, she's quite self-centered, and it seems she's always had the upper hand over my father-in-law, who is an adopted son-in-law. Moreover, just because Kibai resembles my father-in-law and Hadley, Kibai's brother resembles my mother-in-law. She's favored Hadley since childhood and has been rough with Kibai. I have to be honest, I find my domineering and selfish mother-in-law hard to deal with.
It's about the business, or more like our finances,
mother-in-law started. Turns out, the situation was even worse than we imagined. Mother-in-law owns the land where the restaurant is located and my in-laws lived above the restaurant. Originally, the family restaurant in the countryside had few rivals. Thanks to the locals who loved my father-in-law's cooking, the place barely managed to survive. Now, it's almost earning nothing since father-in-law, who was the only chef, has been frequently unwell. On top of that, my mother-in-law owns a 45-year-old apartment next door. It's now infested with termites and has to be torn down. The costs for demolition and tenant relocation have accumulated, leaving us with a $300,000 debt.
Mom, why'd you let it get to this point? Just sell the restaurant and the land.
What are you talking about? This land has been in our family for generations. We can't just sell it. People need this restaurant. Your dad would be devastated. You don't get it because all you know is cooking. Do something. I'm getting old.
Kibai, I'll help too. Let's pull through this. So Kibai and I focused on paying off the debt, reviving the restaurant. I had $350,000 inherited from my wealthy father who passed away 2 years ago. When I suggested using it for repayment, Kibai repeatedly thanked me. I had wanted to use the money for other dreams, but now isn't the time to be choosy. Fortunately, Kibai is quite skilled in the kitchen,
Kibai's food is just as good as Dad's.
said the local customers who started coming back. I used my background in business consulting to improve the parking, decor, and online presence. With a new tourist spot opening nearby, business started booming in a few months. Then father-in-law, who had been ill, finally passed away. We were the only ones present at his side.
Kibai, the restaurant, your mom.
These broken words were father-in-law's last.
It's okay, Dad. Leave it to us.
We both tearfully said goodbye to father-in-law. During the funeral, mother-in-law looked visibly worn out. Glued to her side were my brother-in-law Hadley and his wife Lila. Since mother-in-law wasn't doing anything, we had to arrange and pay for the entire funeral.
That's quite the work ethic you got there, Darcy. Nice to see a career woman turned restaurant owner.
A drunk Hadley started to cause trouble. Kibai had worked hard to pay for his culinary school while being abandoned by mother-in-law with almost no money. Hadley, on the other hand, was pampered and went to a private college. He now works in sales in the neighboring town with a pretty wife. Hadley graduated from the same business school as me, but let's be real, my college was of a higher caliber. Maybe that's his chip on the shoulder, always throwing shade behind my back and making fun of Kibai. Of course, my mother-in-law never told Hadley about our debts, so he's clueless about the hell we went through. I was irritated but chose to ignore it. Then, a scream from Lila. I rushed over to find my mother-in-law, still in her funeral attire, convulsing and collapsed. She was pale and even foaming at the mouth. Kibai, Hadley, and I all scrambled to call an ambulance. Turns out she had suffered a stroke. She was already hypertensive, and the shock of my father-in-law's death and lack of sleep probably contributed. She survived and her speech was okay, but she was left paralyzed and now needed constant care. 2 months after my father-in-law's death, she called us in to talk.
I have repaid the debt and the business is going well. Why not build a duplex on that vacant lot where the apartment used to be? I can't live upstairs anymore. Feel free to use your father's insurance money.
I was stunned by her audacity but realized she couldn't live upstairs anymore in the shop. We were renting an apartment nearby, but that wasn't free either. We could expand the business by renovating her space upstairs. The last words of my father-in-law crossed my mind. Please take care of the shop and your mother-in-law. That was probably his wish. I wanted to honor those words, even if it meant dealing with my challenging mother-in-law. So we bit the bullet and decided to build a duplex. It ended up costing us almost all of our savings, which we had set aside for our dream.
Our dream is over. I'm really sorry.
Kibai looked genuinely sorry, and I realized just how much I truly love him. We're doing well with the restaurant and we can always save up money again. Besides, I'm excited about our new home. Let's try to stay positive. Holding back my emotions, I did my best to offer those words of encouragement. We decided to go with a trendy construction company that Hadley connected with through his business networks for our new home. We could have preferred a reputable local company, but we were overruled by Hadley and my mother-in-law. We were busy running the recently reopened shop, so we just gave them our living space requirements and left it at that. The duplex was completed. It was certainly stylish and the first floor was accessible, but the second floor also featured a state-of-the-art kitchen for Kibai. We gathered in the newly completed home along with Hadley and his wife to celebrate. That's when my mother-in-law, now in a wheelchair, spoke up.
I have something to tell you.
I had a bad feeling about this. This doesn't bode well.
I want to give the restaurant to Hadley. And since Hadley and their team have agreed to take care of things, they'll be the ones living in this house. You all can go back to Los Angeles now.
I couldn't believe what I was hearing. We had paid off $300,000 in debt with the inheritance I received. Kibai had worked hard to rebuild the business, turning it into a well-liked shop with great online reviews. We even built a two-family home to care for my ailing mother-in-law, and now they want to kick us out and give it all to Hadley?
Wow, this place turned out nice. Don't worry, Mom and the shop are in good hands.
Hadley smirked obnoxiously. I can't wait to cook in this fabulous kitchen. Lila chirped, clearly excited. That must be about the kitchen for Kibai. What's up with these people? This is ridiculous.
Since that's the case, don't move in here. Oh, take these dishes your father collected. They don't fit in this house.
Hadley carried out an old box full of dishes that my father-in-law had collected. I felt dizzy.
Well, it's settled then. Time to leave, don't you think?
My mother-in-law spoke coldly. I held back my anger, grabbed my husband's arm, and stood up. As we turned to leave, I caught a glimpse of their smirking faces, filling me with nausea.
I'm sorry, Darcy. I really am. They're not my family anymore.
On the way home, my usually stoic husband broke down. It was the last straw. Let them have the shop and the house. But I won't stand for it anymore. I have had enough. They are going to regret this, I promise. I took out my phone, trembling.
Hello, it's Stephanie.
Stephanie. Something's come up. We're doing it. After I explained, Stephanie simply said,
Understood. You both are on board, right? Let's do it.
A few months later, we were at the grand opening of a restaurant cafe located just a 10-minute drive from our Morro Bay family home, as the main chef and the business owners. Turns out, Stephanie's family owns land in Morro Bay and they're entrepreneurs. They initially wanted to start a restaurant around here and had planned to entrust us with running it. However, Stephanie had postponed the plans, not wanting to interfere with Kibai's family business. That was the whisper during the farewell party. Our dream of running our own restaurant became a reality thanks to the financial backing from Stephanie's family. Thanks to Kibai's culinary skills and my marketing, we have already garnered attention, even getting featured in magazines before opening. As we were chatting with Stephanie, champagne glasses in hand, Hadley and mother-in-law barged into the party yelling, "What's the meaning of this?"
Why are you even here? You're supposed to be out of the picture.
Kibai says coldly.
You are missing the point. If they build a restaurant here, our business is going to suffer.
Mother-in-law shouts, "The downfall of your business is your own fault, isn't it?" Kibai left, and the quality went downhill. You hired mediocre chefs, so even the locals stopped coming. And let's not forget your online reviews are terrible, mostly because of bad customer service. I calmly retorted. Hadley, who always looked down on us, was so angry his face turned red.
Damn you, then pay for that house.
Kibai retorted,
We built that house in the first place, which turns out to be unlivable.
Turns out that duplex was a disaster, riddled with leaks and structural issues. Hadley's contractor friend took off, leaving them in a bind.
We told you to go with a reputable local contractor, didn't we? You insisted on using your contract. It's not our problem.
Kibai and I fired back. And didn't I hear that Lila left? It's impossible to run a failing restaurant and take care of mother-in-law.
This woman?
Hadley lunged at me. With perfect timing, a crisp pop sound rings out and champagne sprays all over Hadley. Hadley looks stunned while mother-in-law opens her mouth in shock. Stephanie, holding the champagne bottle, says with a smile, "You guys brought this upon yourselves. You underestimate two capable people who are dear friends of mine, but thanks to you, we are a huge success. Now leave, we're celebrating here." Drenched, Hadley and mother-in-law, their faces flushed, retreated. We apologized to our guests for the commotion. Though we kept bowing our heads, our hearts were full of joy. A year went by. Mother-in-law and Hadley had to close their restaurant due to poor management. Living in a rundown apartment, it seems Hadley has been juggling part-time work with caring for mother-in-law. One of our regular customers who's been frequenting our restaurant filled us in on their situation. They used to call us up until about 6 months ago, but we're not engaging with them anymore. Our restaurant cafe is now booming. Customers are flocking to try Kibai's dishes and sweets, and Stephanie couldn't be happier. I help run the business while also working as a business consultant in Morro Bay. Oh, one more thing. While organizing the dishes that father-in-law had left behind, we found his will. It read,
Kibai, I'm sorry for everything. Don't worry about the shop or your mother. Just run away and be happy with Darcy. Also, these antiques are for you. Get them appraised.
What father-in-law wanted to say was exactly this. He didn't want us to take over the business or mother-in-law. He wanted us to be free. Knowing father-in-law's true feelings brought tears to our eyes. We got the antiques appraised and found out they're worth far more than what had been spent on mother-in-law all these years. For now, we're not selling them. We think of father-in-law and say a prayer every day. Calm and happy days have returned to us.